in the form of the teachings coming in the line of revealed truth, right? Truth that has come from a higher plane, not truth gathered from the plane of our own senses, but truth that from a higher plane. Someone from a higher plane can have a clearer perspective, clearer estimation of what is on a lower plane, right? Just like if we are suffering from some disease, we need to go to someone who knows more than us, right? We can go to many persons who have knowledge of the same level as ourselves. We'll only get so far. It'll be speculation, right? Oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. You know. But to come to some clear conclusion, we need to go to someone who has some higher vision, some deeper understanding. And so that is why we have been moved to approach revealed truth. You know, truth which has descended from a higher plane, from a higher source, higher vision. It is the most valuable thing in this world, to come to a source of higher truth. There are many conceptions of truth, right? We are not denying the validity of other sources of truth. There's no question of that. We honor all layers of truth in this world, but we want truth from that finest quarter, truth of that highest layer, truth which is pertaining to our eternal need, eternal want, which is of eternal relevance. No, we don't want to dilly-dally amongst truths of a lower nature. We don't want to engage our precious time in that. You know, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says in one place, we must be economical with our time. You know, we only have so much time. The time is always moving, right? So let us try to be economical with our time and use it for seeking after the highest truth. There's one place where Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, give up all your wild goose chasing habits. Wild goose chasing. We're normally chasing after wild geese in the form of so many different ideals in this world, which ultimately bring us nowhere. They bring us to a dead end, right? They cannot give us that deepest satisfaction of the heart. So we are very fortunate, even if we are unable to live up to the high ideal and the high truth which we have come to, at least we can say we have come to it, or at least we have come to the outskirts of it. At least we know what it is, right? We have some idea what it is. Maybe we're not following it perfectly. Maybe we haven't realized it. Maybe not even a little bit, but at least we know, you know, it's here. We don't need to search anymore. Just to know that we're going in the right direction, there's great comfort in that. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he made that expression once when there was some discussion of our mat acquiring the Gambhira, the place where Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya Dev spent his final pastimes in Puri, and there was some discussion of Srila Sridhar Maharaj going there himself, and it was actually Goswami Maharaj who was orchestrating it, and then Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, you know, I may not. This is in his last years, and he said, I may not survive the journey, right? Because he's in his last years, not showing good health. And so he said, I may not survive the journey to go there. But if I die along the way, he said, at least I will die going in the right direction. You know, I'll leave my body going in the right direction. So that is a very wonderful thing, to know that we're going in the right direction, right? It is a very comforting thing. You know, it is like if somebody is suffering from some chronic illness, you know, and they've been suffering for so many years, and they didn't even know what the problem was, right? And then finally, after so much time and so much suffering, we find a real doctor. We find an expert doctor, and that doctor can identify, oh, this is what the problem is, and this is your treatment plan. You know, even if they tell you, oh, your treatment is going to take 10 years, you'll still be overjoyed. You know, oh, at least now I found a solution. you know, and I can start, I can start my treatment. Maybe it will take many years, but I know I'm on the right path. I'm going in the right direction. There's so much comfort. There's so much solace in that. It's almost like half the work is already done, If we really, it is true, you think how many bogus gurus are out there in the world, how many bogus conceptions, how many people are promoting things for their own gain, right? How much time do people spend just trying to find a real guide? Really, how much trouble do people go through just to find a true guide? My mother went through that experience. She, in the 70s, she was searching in Berkeley, California, trying to find the real guide. And she, at one point, she paid $100 for a mantra, So, these kinds of bogus gurus are there. And finally, she decided to commit suicide because she felt, oh, there's nothing, there's nothing. And then it was a devotee from ISKCON who approached her on the night she was planning to commit suicide and came to her with the Bhagavad Gita. And she moved in that night to the temple. So really, like, how much trouble do people go through just to find a real guide, So now it's almost like half the work's done. Like, we found a real guide, that's already such a huge thing. So we don't want to take that for granted, the value of that. As Srila Sridhar Maharaj would say, we thank our lucky stars. We thank our lucky stars that we've come to this, and that our gurus are still giving us some shelter. Just the fact that we are able to remember, right? That we still have some desire, that means that we are in their care. The fact that our guardians are allowing us to remember their lotus feet, to remember this path, to maintain some appreciation, that means we have their grace. To have some desire, some earnestness for a spiritual life or a life of practicing devotion, that means that their grace is upon us. That is a symptom of grace. So just that we have that, maybe everything else is falling apart, maybe we feel like we're going to hell, but we still have some desire in our heart, for something higher. We still have some earnestness for that, for this path. Then we can think we're okay. We're okay. Everything else will, according to our karma, in our lives in this world, everything will come and go. Everything will cycle in different ways. Our house may be burning down. We may become bankrupt, or we may become millionaires, right? All these things may come and go in our daily lives, but we don't want to make so much of them. We are trying to keep our focus. Okay, today I'm a millionaire. Okay, today I'm bankrupt. Whatever it may be, let these things go on as they are meant to go on according to our karma, our karmic circumstances. We don't need to make much of them. We don't want to lose our focus from what is the real path of our life. What is the true path of our life? There's a beautiful prayer of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father himself. What is it? Karma bir brahmyamananam yatra kwapish adechara. It begins like that, saying that, whatever I am meant to experience according to my karma, according to the will of providence, let that come as it is supposed to come. It is nothing to do with me in a sense. Let it come, and I will face it as I must face it. But my only prayer, he says, is that I may always remember Sri Krishna, that I may always hold him in my heart. Everything else may come and go as it is supposed to come and go. That is the nature of this world. It is a temporary plane, it is a plane of duality. We don't want to become too involved with that. But what is our eternal path of life? What is our real duty and real need in life? We don't want to forget that, and we don't want to lose this chance. everywhere in the scriptures, you know, we are being reminded, what is the value of this human birth? You know, what is the value of this human birth? Labdva sudorlabam idam bahu sambhavante manushyam artadam nityam apiha dira tornam yateta napated anumritya javam ishaya shaya vishaya kalu sarvatasya. This is a beautiful verse in Bhagavatam, you know, saying that now that you have achieved this very rare and precious human form of life, then as long as you have not fallen down and died, as long as you still have some breath in your body, you know, you should endeavor for this highest thing. You know? And it also mentions, you know, material enjoyment, it is always available in all species of life. In our animal births, we can also have plenty of enjoyment, you know. But this human birth has this special purpose, you know. So as long as we have some breath within our body, you know, let us try to endeavor for that highest thing. But I'm just speaking off the cuff here. Does anyone, today's our question and answer. And we have a few others who've joined us. Suvasini Didi, Dandavat Pranams, Dana has joined us. Chintamani Devi has joined us. And Somya Shamprabhu has joined us. Dandavat to everyone. Somya Shamprabhu, we've been missing him for a few weeks because he's been very busy with programs in Ireland. They've had Madhusudan Maharaj visiting. So we're very happy to have you back. Somya Shamprabhu, do you want to share any news from Ireland? On Vijayananda Prabhu.
Jai Hare Krishna. Jai Hare Krishna, Vishakha Devi. Yes, we did miss your programs. We were catching up some pieces online. But yeah, we had a very busy few weeks leading up to Madhusudan Maharaj's visit and Devashish as well from the UK. So we had a wonderful week last week. We had a lot of visitors came, and we had some lovely devotees from the Ukraine as well. They were living in Ireland, and they came to visit from Galway. They came to visit from Galway, Mayo side. So they came down as well. Maharaj, they came. She was here as well for the week. So
Jadugopal's second initiation was Brahman initiation. Jadugopal had Brahman initiation. And then Veena and Pranay, they had their Harinam initiation as well.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful, wonderful news.
So we had a week of a festival almost, you know. Every day was festival. Now it's just calm down.
So it's very quiet this week. We're missing everybody's association, but it was a very beautiful week. And then we had our center here as well, named as well by Devashish Prabhu and Madhusudan Maharaj.
Did you get the name? Didi is named Sridhar Govinda Seva Kirtan Sanga.
Oh, Jai. Sridhar Govinda Seva
Kirtan Sanga.
Jai. Beautiful. Well, it's so wonderful to hear this news and to see how your enthusiasm and your hard work, you know, is like, I mean, for lack of a better way of putting it, it's paying off, you know. You know, we've seen over the years how much energy you've been putting into the community there and the outreach and we're seeing how it's, you know, there are beautiful fruits that are being born, you know, as an outcome of that. Not that we always need that, not that we're always looking for that, but it comes sometimes as a symptom of our devotional efforts. So it's very beautiful to see, and it's really a testament to your own service and devotional mood.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat. Well, does anyone have any particular topic today or meeting today?
I'm still curious about that. The mahāmantra is one way and also backwards used.
Oh, that's right.
It's a pending question.
That's right. The question, that's right. We had a question from a week or two ago from Gangalila about the mahāmantra. Well, so the question was that why is it that the mahāmantra is presented in a different order, right? In different scriptures, because in some scriptures, and in fact, more amongst the general Hindu community, the other way around is more well known to them. So they know, they're more familiar with Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And whereas the way in which we have been told to chant is the other way around. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Welcome to Mahalakshmi is with us here.
Dhanyavad, Vishakha.
Mahalakshmi and who else is there with you?
Chandra Jyoti.
Chandra Jyoti, that's right, Chandra Jyoti. Very nice to have you with us. Well, so there are a number of different ideas that are surrounding this, and there's actually one recording of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where he explains this point, and actually Jayadev, he found it recently. We can share that link in our group as well. And so he goes through, there's a recording where Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he goes through a few different ideas surrounding this. And one idea Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said, is that because people consider that this Hare Rama is like the standard form. This is more well known in the scriptures. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj said there's one group of persons, and welcome to Krishna Mohini Didi. I'm not sure which Krishna Mohini in Spain, I think. Welcome, Dandavad Didi. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said that there's a group of persons, I believe he said in UP, Upper India, the Vrindavan, Delhi area. He said that they believe that because normally common people, they would not have access to chanting Vedic mantras. Right? It was considered generally, the general idea was that common general persons, they're not eligible. And you know, there is some cause for that. It's not necessarily just prejudice. You know, for example, there's one, because the idea is that persons of a lower mind, if they have access to more subtle truth, then they may cause havoc, right? If somebody, like think of it in this way, like the atom bomb, right? If you give access to someone who's very uneducated, right? That's a very dangerous combination, right? So if you have something of like subtle power and it is made available to persons who don't have the qualification, then there may be problems. There can be trouble. Or they may cultivate these subtle things with some lower intent. And I don't know how much of a tangent I probably shouldn't go too far, but there are some interesting stories related to that. I can see Chinmoy smiling. He knows what I'm thinking of. And so that's one idea, and another which is a prejudiced idea, which we don't subscribe to at all. But there is also this idea that a mantra may lose power if too many people are chanting it. You know, some persons also have this idea. So anyway, you know, there are different reasons why it was generally the case that, and also just plain power, control, holding monopoly over the truth, right? That's also there. So for different reasons, these Vedic mantras, they were not available to general people. And so there's one idea, Srila Sridhar Maharaj has explained, that Mahaprabhu, he changed the order of the mantra around so as to give them access, and nobody could blame him saying, oh, he's letting them chant this Vedic mantra, because actually he changed it, he mixed it up, you know, so it was a little different. So there's one theory like that. And another theory which he mentioned is that, you know, if we go with the idea that this Rama is referring to Ramachandra, right? Then people say, right, that Rama should be first because Ramachandra appears first, you know, or at least within this, you know, it all gets very complicated, at least within this cycle, within this Chatra Yuga, because normally it's actually the other way around, right? Dwapar is indicating the second, Treta is indicating the third. So normally that's the other way around, right? But in this particular cycle, then Ramachandra appears first and Krishna appears second. So therefore people say that's why Rama should be first. And then there's another argument to counter that, saying, well, when two entities of a similar type are being compared, then the historical chronology shouldn't be considered, but it should only be considered, you know, what is their value. And it is mentioned in different places in the scriptures that Krishna Nam has more potency than Ram Nam, you know. And so from that consideration, you know, the historical calculation should be dismissed and the Krishna Nam should be chanted first. This is another idea which is mentioned. However, Srila Sridhar Maharaj has come in. He concludes this discussion, you know, explaining that, however, so he shares these different theories, and he says, however, you know, in our Gaudiya lineage, in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, a finer conception has been given to us. And that is that actually this mahāmantra, it is exclusively of a Madhura Rasa nature. It is exclusively pertaining to Radha Krishna Leela in the mood of Madhura Ras. And it is 10%, you know, of that layer. And that Rama there is not referring to Ramachandra, it's not referring to Balaram, but it is referring to Radha Raman Krishna. Here Rama means pleasure. So Radha Raman Krishna, Krishna who gives pleasure to Srimati Radharani. That is what is being referred to in this mahāmantra. And then I didn't hear Srila Sridhar Maharaj explain, you know, why this way and not the other way. But I did hear from, I don't know if anyone else has heard anything pertaining to that. But Jayadev did say that he had heard the explanation that this is the eternal form of the mahāmantra, this Hare Krishna first and Hare Rama second, and that but in this particular age, it came in this way in the scriptures, a Hare Rama first. So in this particular cycle of the ages, it came in that form. But otherwise, the eternal expression of the mahāmantra is the Hare Krishna first. And so that is why Mahaprabhu spread that form of the mahāmantra. That Jayadev said he had heard. Haven't heard from our Guru Varga, but it makes sense to me. Chinmoy Prabhu, do you have anything to add to this discussion?
No, that's what I've heard as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything you said, those reasons why we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Mm-hmm.
But the main reason, I guess, is that Mahaprabhu, that's the way he gave it.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Sometimes the
That's the
simplest
real
answer is the best.
What did you say, Marie?
Sometimes the simplest answer is the best. That's the way he did it, so that's the way I'm doing it.
Yeah, and that's really the truth, actually. It's really the truth. We are, as our Gurudev, he would often say, we are living in the faithful plane. Shraddha Mayoyam Loka. We are living in the plane of faith and the plane of Shraddha. And that's really the real mood, right? Also, today we're following Ekadashi here, and there are many different reasons that can be discussed as to why we follow Ekadashi, but there's one place in Chaitanya Charitamrita where it describes that one day Mahaprabhu came to his mother, Shachi, I believe even says like on his knees and begged her, my dear mother, I have one request of you. Yes, my dear boy, what is that? Please follow Ekadashi. Because normally in the Hindu culture, there's a tradition that married women won't follow Ekadashi because there's more emphasis on their societal role as mothers and wives. And so the idea is that they need to stay fit, so they don't follow some of these things. But from a higher devotional consideration, their real relationship is with Krishna, right? So anyhow, so Mahaprabhu made this request, no explanation, just, my dear mother, please follow Ekadashi. Yes, my dear boy, whatever you say. Like that's the only reason we need to hear, And we hear some other explanations, right, about the different phases of the moon and the influence on water and all these things. But really, Mahaprabhu asked his mother to follow Ekadashi, that's all we need to know. So our gurus, they've given it to us like this, and that's how we're following, that's how we're chanting. That is really the real answer. Tarko Pratishta, Shruteya Vibhina, Nasavashir Yasya Matam Nabinam, Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhayam, Mahajano Yena Kata, Sapanta. This is Yudhisthira Maharaj's advice in Mahabharata, that the scriptures, the first point, Tarko Pratishta, means just argument, discussion is inconclusive. Debating, arguing is all, you cannot come to a real conclusion through that. The scriptures are Vishruteya Vibhina. The scriptures are very variegated. There are so many different ideas presented in the scriptures. You'll just get lost if you're trying to establish the truth on the basis of what's told in the scripture alone. And then the rishis also, they're not reliable, the rishis, the sages, because they're promoting different theories, sometimes just to make a name for themselves. Like a research PhD student, they need to present some new theory. So the general sages, you cannot trust them either. So where do you find the truth? Dharmasya tattam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gata sapanta. It is hidden in the heart of the Mahajans, of the great souls, the realized souls, those who are living the truth and have a connection with God, with the divinity, with Krishna. So whatever they do, sapanta, that's the way, that's the path. That's our religion, What's living in the heart of the saints, that's our religion. That's our religion. That is true religion. Oh, you're raising your hand, Radhana Rupini, Didi.
I wanted to ask you, Didi, in the Bhagavad Gita, there's it states there that, in several places, that, we should do the prescribed work that's meant for us, and we shouldn't do work that was meant for others. So like, how do you, is that because of, they're talking about, oh, if you're a Sudra, if you're a Kshatriya, if you're a Brahmin, is that what they talk about? Or because in this age of Kali Yuga, I look around and it's like, well, how do you know what is the work that's prescribed for you? You know, I mean, I'm pretty much done with work. I'm retired. I'm working in my garden and my sewing room now. But you know, when I think about the younger people and making a living or just starting off their lives and stuff like that, I think about that.
Yes, nice question. Dana is appreciating your question, and I am also. Well, you know, one thing to remember is that many of these instructions in Bhagavad Gita, they can be understood and applied on different levels, right? So on one level, in Bhagavad Gita, right, Krishna is speaking in the way that you are, you know, referring to, that this idea of that we all have some particular duty, right, within society, within our communities. And so in the context of Gita, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, you're a Kshatriya. You know? So you have particular duties that are attached to being a Kshatriya. You know, and it's not about your likes and dislikes and personal preferences, but this is your particular duty that's been allocated to you. And the best path for you is to follow that. You know? Although your mind, your sensibilities may not always like that, you know, it will really still be best for your development to follow the duty allocated to you. So yes, that is one way in which that could also be applied within our own lives in this world. However, in a broader sense, I also see that instruction as pertaining to what particular lessons we are learning in a broader sense, you know, beyond a conception of societal role, but in a deeper way, you know, what are the teachings that I need to learn in any given situation, and what is my particular role in dealing with various situations in my practicing life. You know, what is right for me, the main idea, right, is that what is right for me may not be right for someone else, and vice versa. Right? We have to understand, you know, there's a few different things come out of this. You know, one point that comes out of this is the idea of not involving ourselves in other people's duties, right? like one place Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he says, mind your own business. You know? We need to mind our own business. You know, don't worry so much about what others are doing or not doing. Don't interfere or involve ourselves, whether verbally, physically, or even mentally, right? Why are we getting caught up with how well or not well others are doing, or whether others are doing right or wrong? But how am I doing? You know, let me give my attention to that, right? And if others are making mistakes, you know, rather than wasting my energy judging or criticizing, let me use my energy to correct myself. You know, how can I learn from this for my own growth, right? You know, to focus our energy, like we were saying in the beginning, to be economical with our time and energy, and focus our energy for our own development. So this is one point that comes out of that. And another is understanding what is appropriate for us in any given situation, you know, according to our particular role. You know, like for example, it just went out of my head just now. Okay, like for example, there's this incident, this well-known incident in Vrindavan, when there was that very foolish man who spoke a little arrogantly about Raghunath Das Goswami, right? Saying that, you know that story, right? He said, oh, because Raghunath Das Goswami says in one of his prayers, you know, he's praying for the blessings of so many great personages, including the residents of Vrindavan, including the Brahmins. And so this one foolish man in Vrindavan, he expressed, you know, oh, we are Brajabasis, we are residents of Vrindavan, we are also Brahmins, you know, we can bless Raghunath Das Goswami. Like, very foolish thing. And who's Raghunath? Raghunath Das Goswami, he's our Prayojanacharya. You know, his position is so high. And he made this comment in some type of public context. And Saraswati Thakur heard about that, and he was horrified, and he began to fast. He stopped eating, and gradually his whole group also started to fast. And he said, until there's been some rectification, until there's been some apology, you know, I won't take any food. And eventually that man, he was made to understand, you know, that his foolishness, and he apologized for what he had said. And everything, you know, was harmonized. But somebody asked Saraswati Thakur, you know, why did you care for what that man had said? A fool will speak foolish things, right? Why should you care for what he said? Why didn't you just ignore it? And Saraswati Thakur explained, he said, I'm in this role of an acharya. I'm in this role, you know, leader of a mission representing my Guru Varga. It is my duty to take a stance in situations like this. I have to. It is my duty. However, but he also added, he said, however, if I was living quietly as a solitary Babaji in Vrindavan, then I would have just quietly left the place. So I didn't have to hear such things. But I'm in this particular role. So it is my duty to say something. No, I have to say something. And he made this expression, why am I riding in a big motor car in Vrindavan? Right? Which at that time was such a shocking thing.
Yeah.
So why am I riding in a big motor car in Vrindavan? You know, I have to represent the dignity of my gurus. It is my duty to say something. And it is mentioned also, you know, that, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he also discusses this in one place. He says, we have some responsibility to our environment. And so if we see something is wrong, and we are in a position to do something about it, and we don't, then we are also at fault. You know, it is mentioned in the Mahabharata, in that incident when Draupadi is being disrobed, right? And there are so many of these, you know, great men in the assembly, revered persons. They sit quietly and they don't do anything, right? And so it is mentioned that actually more faults, more blame is upon them, even than upon the persons who are the direct perpetrators. Because the persons who are committing the offense, they're just ignorant. You know, in a sense, you can't blame anyone for ignorance, right? If someone's ignorant, they will do ignorant things. They don't know any better. But if someone knows better and they do wrong, or they allow wrong to go on, and they're also in a position to stop it, then they are more responsible. That is the consideration. So, but then if we are not in a position to say anything or do anything, then it is not appropriate. You know? So it depends, right? So that is another thing that comes out of this instruction in Gita, understanding what is our particular duty in any given situation. Is it my duty to do something or not? You know? And if I should do something, how should I do it? In what way should I do it? And then also continuing with this thread, you know, this verse in the Manu Samhita comes to mind, which gives advice, as to how can one ascertain what is their dharma, what is their duty in any situation. Vidvad bi sevita shad bir nityam adveshad agi bi hridyayena byanugyato yodharmastam nibodhata. And actually this expression, religion of the heart, you could say it comes from this verse. And so it mentions four different points which are to be considered when we are trying to ascertain what is our dharma. One, what is given in the Shastra? What is the recommendation of the scripture? Two, but that, as we were just mentioning, right, that's not enough, right? Because the scripture gives so many things, right? And the scripture is also passive. You cannot consult on the particulars of your situation. You cannot discuss with the scripture, right? So the scripture, but it still is an important reference, right? The scripture, then also the living scripture, the saints, the sadhus, what has been their comments, in situations similar to my own, or can I consult with someone who I consider to have some higher estimation of things than myself? That is the best. And then it is also mentioned that our decision, our ascertainment of our duty, it should not be influenced by our personal likes or dislikes, by our self-interest. Should be free from that. This duality of aversion and attraction, rag and dvesh, right?
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Like it's very tough, right? To not, because we're often unsure. Is my decision self-motivated or not? It's very difficult sometimes to know. Am I making this decision because it's in my interest, or is it because it is really the best thing to do? It's very difficult. Am I acting in this way against this person because they did something wrong, or is it because I have a personal vendetta against them, right? It's very, very tough thing to ascertain sometimes, right? So that is the third thing mentioned. And then the fourth one is Hridayena Byanugyato, our heart will know. What is the voice of our heart, of our conscience, our intuition? And it's interesting. And this for me is a beautiful example of how refined Vaishnavism is, how refined the presentation of the Vedas is, that they include that as a factor, like what your heart tells you. It's very developed presentation of theistic culture that is also considered and included here. Did you want to say something, Saver Rupa? You look like
Dandavats. I was reading Marie's, I think she just posted something in the chat, and because I was just grappling with, since coming back, it's just like all the practices I'm trying to do, it just seems like it's just for myself, but what am I actually doing for, like, to help somebody else? And, not also, I think when Madhusudana Maharaj had said, even if it's something small and you can do, but it's just like at crossroads, because I don't know what I can do, and I'm just, just trying to follow on the practice, but I also at the same time feel a little bit like selfish just doing that for me.
Wait, sorry, I'm not totally following. You're saying sometimes you feel selfish doing the practice for yourself?
Yes, so like, I'm trying to chant properly or trying to learn a song and, all the routine and maybe trying to read or follow up on a Zoom, but I'm not doing anything for anybody else. I'm not helping somebody else, but I don't know how to.
Well, the thing is that, Shravan, then Kirtan, hearing, then chanting. And our Gurudev, he once gave the analogy that's given on flights, right? First, put on your own mask, and then put on the mask of others. Gurudev mentioned that once, and he related it to Shravan and Kirtan. First we have to get on the boat, and then we can help others get on the boat too, So we need to, there's Srila Sridhar Maharaj used this expression once, ignorant love, right? Also like we can say ignorant help, right? We don't want to give ignorant help, we want to give help that is truly helpful. And so in order to do that, we need to be developed ourselves. Yes, and as Radha Rupini is saying, through our own purification, we will be able to help others more. Srila Swami Maharaj, he had that expression, purity is the force, right? So, but that, of course, that doesn't mean that we won't help others. We're not going to live in a cave, it's we don't need to think in extremes, And you can also think, this is my guru's desire for me. I'm doing it. Like really, if you come down to it, the reason why we're doing these things is what Chinmoy said, because our Gurudev told us to. Our Gurudev asked us to. So it's service. We can think of it in that way. Our chanting beads, we're offering service to that mala. We're trying to offer service to the name. Of course, we can't offer real service, but we have to start somewhere, right? With whatever we have to start with that. So we can think of it in that way, this is my service to my Gurudev. He asked me to do this, so I'm doing it. And as we become more developed, then we'll also be in more of a position to help others. There is this incident with the Kinchan Maharaj, actually, who's also from South Africa originally. He in the beginning, he was trained in a different way, and I think I might have told this story a few weeks ago in this meeting, and he at one time he was in Navadvip visiting the Math, and he bought this big bag of japa malas that he was planning to take back to South Africa and hand them out, to so many people. And, but, that's not the traditional way in which the name has been given, right? That normally first the name will be received from the Guru, and then we will chant. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj was very surprised when he heard about this, and he called Kinchan Maharaj to him. And he was very direct with him, and he said, first you have to be in a good position yourself, and he said, otherwise, in the name of nectar, you will distribute poison. He said like that. So your own conception has to be developed, and then you will be able to help others. So everything in its proper course, right? Everything in its proper course. Everything will come. But, I can also appreciate that sentiment. I can also appreciate that mood. There's also room for that. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he mentioned one of his godbrothers. He said, I don't have time for mantras and all these things. And he was like a big preacher. And he said, I don't have time for all these, for sadhana and bhajan and all these things, mantras. I don't have time for that. He was always very busy in his preaching mission. So I can appreciate that mood. There's also room for that. But I would say, everything in its proper course. That day may come. But you should also, one thing which I've come to learn over the years is that when we have like quiet time for our spiritual life, we should take advantage of it, because things can change, things can change, or whatever particular situation we may be in. Like, for example, when I think of the years I had in India, hearing from our Gurudev and also from so many great preachers in our mission who were giving classes, it was like such a hub. And I think to myself, I wish I'd appreciated that time more, when I had that time and opportunity, So if you're in a situation where you have time to read and to chant, take advantage of that, because tomorrow you don't know what's going to change, like you're doing now, joining the Zoom meetings and going to Italy, meeting Maharaj, that's wonderful that you're doing that. And because really you don't know how things could change tomorrow, right? So that's something I've learned, things are always moving and shifting in this world, and our circumstances can change at any moment. So if we have some particular environment that is supporting our growth, take advantage of it, So if you have that opportunity to read, to hear, to chant, take advantage of it. And some years down the line, you may be in a situation where persons are in desperate need of the realization that you've developed, of the understanding that you've gained, right? You may be in a situation where you're giving Krishna consciousness and you don't have so much time to sit and, and develop your own understanding so much. So what opportunity you have, appreciate it, make the most of it. It will serve you and serve others in the future. There's also that expression of Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj, where he said, in his last years, somebody said to him, "Oh, Gosai, Goswami Maharaj, why he was a big preacher, powerful preacher, and one of his godbrothers said, now you're coming into your retirement years, why don't you sit and do some bhajan, And there's this stereotype of bhajan, meaning sitting and chanting, quietly, but really bhajan means service. Our life of service, worship, devotion, and so Goswami Maharaj, he was bothered by that comment, and he didn't say anything, but he mentioned it to Srila Sridhar Maharaj later, and he said, this is my bhajan, that I'm going out and preaching and bringing people to Mahaprabhu and my Guru Maharaj. This is my bhajan. So your sentiment is appreciated very much. Radhana Rupini, did you want to add any more comments to our discussion? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Oh, am I muted now?
You're unmuted.
Okay, I guess it's opposite on my thing. I was thinking also like of the same thing, as far as bhajan is concerned. Like I recently retired and almost going to be a year now. And, we're not so pure that we can chant all day long. We really, let's be honest, it's like I haven't gotten to that place where I have the real taste, So if I can chant the prescribed, what my spiritual master prescribed for me, I'm very happy. And then I do some reading, but really it's in the service, like you said, Mata, Vishakha, it's going out and sometimes you have to just go and look for that service. It's not going to come knock on your door and say, excuse me, can you please come do service? You have to actually look for it. Go see where are you needed? Where can you serve people? like here we have a few different devotees. So I volunteer at the school. I teach some girls how to cook and sew, I try to, whenever there's programs, try to, cook or something like that. So it's like, service is our life. Service is our life. Serving the devotees, serving Krishna, that's our life and soul. Because we don't really have that pure taste in our mouth yet for the whole. And one time, can I share one story? One time I was working, when I was still working, I was working up north, the North Island, at a very beautiful hospital. And so happens that, and I was working night shift. There was a sannyasi in town. I didn't even know he was there until he became my patient. And I can say his name because he has passed. His name is Bhakti Maharaj. He was a black body from ISKCON. And he was so surprised when I walked in with my neck beads. He's like, Hare Krishna, because somebody who was going to take care of him was a devotee, So I said, I never met him in my life. And I said, Hare Krishna Maharaj. And so I had taken care of him for a few days. He was there for cancer anyway. And at the last day, I asked him, Maharaj, can I ask you a question? He said, sure, anything. And I said, why do I have to work? He said, what? I said, yeah, why do I have to work? Because I was so tormented in my mind for so long that why is Krishna putting me in this position where I have to work so hard serving the general public just to provide shelter and food for myself? I still couldn't see that is what Krishna was providing for me, was that my job, Anyway, and he says to me, well, what else are you going to do? And I said, I want to serve Krishna. In my mind, I'm thinking of the 3 years I spent in an ashram, I want to serve Krishna. For me, that's what I wanted. And he said to me, no. How did he say that? Something like, you are serving Krishna. He said, you see Krishna in everybody's heart here, and you serve Krishna in their heart. And then I said, oh, Maharaj, I'm not so elevated, and he laughed and he said, Radha Narivini, he says, your presence in the room elevates the consciousness of your patients. And I don't think it was just me that he's talking about, that I'm so special. I don't think so. I think he's saying that in regards to all Vaishnavas. If you're really in the Vaishnav path, you have a lot of compassion, you have a lot of, and they can feel the difference. The general public will feel the difference. So then I felt, okay, my work is, I'm doing some kind of service. I'm not just wasting my time, because it's a horrible feeling thinking you're just working so that you can eat and have a roof on your head, But that's all. I just took too much time.
No, thanks for sharing. Yeah, and there's value simply in being active, doing something and being out there. And there was one time, I won't say the name, but one of our dear members in our family, it came to, he wasn't employed, he had a family, but he wasn't employed. And I don't know exactly how he was spending his time, but he was, at home. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj came to hear about his circumstances. And I think he'd asked, like, oh, what work is he doing or something? And he was told, oh, no, he's not working now. And it's also kind of funny because it's showing Srila Sridhar Maharaj's worldview. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said, oh, and he is sitting idly and taking the name. And I'm thinking that's probably really generous, just that he's sitting and taking the name, but that was But even that for Srila Sridhar Maharaj, that wasn't acceptable. Just taking the name like idly, not doing anything useful with his time, you know. Marie, thanks for joining us. And Tungarasa, can you put yourself on mute? Tungarasa, or can we mute Tungarasa?
Oh no, sorry. It was by mistake. I am very sorry.
So, you know, there's value in simply being active and doing something useful with your time. And by being out there on the fields, you know, you're meeting people, you're getting the chance to share something about Krishna. Like I always like to give the example of Kanupriya Didi here. She owns her own business and she works with many professional people and she tells everybody, all of her clients, they know about Gurudev, they know about her life, they know about the ashram, you know, like she tells everyone, you know, so that it's you know, it's giving connection to by being there out on the fields, you're giving a wider spectrum of people an opportunity, right, to hear about these teachings, and simply by being an upstanding citizen, you know, that's a type of preaching, you know, you're showing people, you know, we are dignified people, you know, you're giving some good impression to the public.
And it's a good way to give prasadam. Prasadam is the best preacher in that situation. I gave so much prasadam.
The secret weapon, prasadam.
Prasadam.
Yeah, Kanupriya also, she's given a lot of prasadam, the students and clients. Yes. All right. Well, we're just about out of time. It would be nice, Rasaraj Prabhu, if you're available. I always like to hear something from you. You always have something very, very appropriate and inspiring to add. Prabhu, you want to add anything to our discussion, related or unrelated? Oh, Rasaraj, did you hear Prabhu? I was just inviting you if you would like to make any additional comment.
No, I am. Well, I was reading yesterday from Bhakti Sudeva Goswami Maharaj. He will have some comments from Srila Guru Maharaj, and he said that all this spiritual knowledge, it comes by the grace of Gurudev, and actually it came out as a grace. So it's like kind of by his mercy, we can keep it, but it's not like it can stay with us all the time. It can also withdraw, depends on our attitude. So what I say that all this information that we have is like by the mercy of Gurudev, and we have to take care of that, right? And they say that also it's not like we keep it to ourselves. We have to try to share that with others, and not even less that we receive. We have to give the same thing that we receive, give it to others. That's the idea. And I see that you are doing that every day with us. I mean, every week with these meetings, like I try to share all that knowledge. And actually all this came from our gurus. And we appreciate all that. I actually appreciate that nourishment that came from all of you. And I am very fortunate to have the association, all of you. My dandavats to everybody.
Jai, that was beautiful, beautiful, Prabhu. Yes, 100%. Very nice. And anyone else, any final words before we end? Chinmoy Prabhu, anything you'd like to add? Or Suvasini Didi thing? We see Madhavi Didi in Colombia is just joined us and we're about to end. I feel very sad. Madhavi, Dandavad, very happy to see you.
Didi, how are you?
Good, good. Very happy to see you.
You look good, yes. Thank you for very nice class.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining, Madhavi. No, Madhavi. She's one of the very early members of our Colombian Sanga and our mission many years. He spent much time in Navadvip, also very hearty mood.
Thank you, Didi.
We'll close there. Do you want to say hello to everyone? Also, Kanam Priya Didi and Nama Priya are here, sending their dandavats. Okay, then we'll close here for today. Thank you all so much for your wonderful association.
Dandavat Didi.
Jai Shri Bhakti. Oh, did somebody say something?
I just said thank you so much. Sorry, I didn't write.
Dana, you're so steadily joining. We're always very happy to have you with us.
Oh, I appreciate you all so
Krishna.
much.
Haribol.
Dandavats, everybody.
Hi, Vishakha Devi Dasi.
Jai.
Jai. All the assembled devotees ki jai.
Jai.
Ki jai. Jai.
Hari Hari Bo.